The greatest scientific minds of the Galactic Federation, pause for dramatic effect, were sitting around a conference table, congratulating themselves on their brilliant plan to solve the human problem. Oh yes, we had it all figured out. As captain of research vessel designation TK-421, I, Vex Zorax, had the dubious honor of recording this momentous occasion for posterity. If I had known then what a complete disaster this would become, I would have requested immediate transfer to the Outer Rim garbage collection fleet. The plan is perfect, Director Sen Ravix declared, his forearms gesturing with enough enthusiasm to nearly knock over his drinking vessel. We leave the human on Nexus 7, nature takes its course, and our hands remain clean. His scaled skin gleamed under the artificial lights as he preened. I forced my facial muscles into what my xenobiology training suggested was an agreeable expression. And you are certain the planet will handle this issue for us. Lieutenant Kira Nix, my second in command, pulled up the holographic display of Nexus 7. The planet spun lazily before us, its massive jungle continents a sickly green against purple oceans. The environment is perfect, Captain. The atmosphere is breathable, but the native fauna is, shall we say, enthusiastically carnivorous. She clicked her mandibles in what passed for amusement among her species. The display zoomed in, showing footage of various predators that called Nexus 7 home. Razor-backed hexapods that hunted in packs. Aerial predators with wingspan wider than our shuttle. And the crown jewel of this deadly ecosystem, the Shadowstalkers. Think Earth tigers crossed with velociraptors, then add natural active camouflage and a concerning level of intelligence. Even if the human survives the drop, Ravix continued, the Shadowstalkers alone will ensure we never have to worry about him again. No weapons, no supplies, no hope of rescue. The perfect solution to our little inconvenience. I watched the footage loop again, trying to ignore the growing unease in my primary stomach. The human Marcus Stone had already proved troublingly difficult to eliminate through more conventional means. 3 assassination attempts, 2 accidents, and 1 poisoning, all failed. But surely even a human couldn't survive this. Very well, I said, making my official log entry. Operation disposal is approved. We proceed with the drop at next planetary dawn. I paused the recording, looking at my assembled team. Let the record show that all present agreed this was a magnificent plan that absolutely could not go wrong in any way. Ravix missed the sarcasm completely. Nix, more familiar with human expressions, shot me a concerned look. She at least recognized the ancient human wisdom about pride and its relationship to falling. If only we had listened to that nagging doubt. If only we had remembered that humans have an irritating habit of turning certain death into unlikely survival. If only we had known what we were about to unleash on that unsuspecting jungle. But hindsight, as humans say, is a real pain in the dorsal regions. The drop was perfect. If by perfect you mean watching a supposedly unconscious human tumble from our shuttle like a sack of nutrient pods. Lieutenant Nix handled the controls with her usual precision, keeping us at the ideal height of 500 meters above the jungle canopy. Just high enough to ensure no survival, according to our extremely thorough calculations that would soon prove to be worth less than processed waste. Target has landed in Sector 7, Nix reported, her mandibles twitching with what I now recognize as nervousness. Biosigns are stable. I peered at the readings myself. Marcus Stone should have been barely alive after the sedatives we had pumped into his system. Instead, his vital signs looked like someone taking a pleasant nap. Must be a sensor malfunction. I declared, demonstrating the galaxy-renowned intelligence that got me this command position. Begin recording. Official log, Captain Vex Zorax speaking. Subject Marcus Stone has been successfully transferred to Research Zone Nexus 7 at coordinates 47.892 by 135.761. Time of drop 0600 local. Weather conditions standard jungle nightmare. As per protocol. Subject has been provided with standard survival equipment consisting of absolutely nothing. Chances of survival estimated at 0%. End log. I switched off the recorder and turned to Director Ravix, who was practically vibrating with satisfaction. Shall we maintain observation? Waste of resources, Ravix declared, waving his upper arms dismissively, while his lower ones called up tactical displays. The human will be dead before local nightfall. The Shadowstalkers never failed to investigate impact sites. That should have been our first warning sign. because as we lifted away from the drop zone, our sensors picked up something unusual. The Shadowstalkers were indeed converging on the area, but they were moving cautiously. These apex predators, known for their aggressive hunting patterns, were approaching like nervous scavengers. Normal behavior patterns, Ravix insisted when Nix pointed this out. They're simply assessing the situation. 2 hours later, our orbital monitoring station reported the first anomaly. Captain Zorax, the technician's voice wavered slightly. We're detecting unusual movement patterns in Sector 7. The Shadowstalker pack has stopped advancing. Stopped, I asked, mandating my voice remain steady. Clarify. They formed a perimeter around the drop zone, sir. They're just waiting. Ravix scoffed, but I noticed his scales had taken on the pale green tinge of concern. The sedatives must be masking the human's scent. They'll attack once they detect him properly. 6 hours after that, we received the second report. The Shadowstalkers hadn't attacked. Instead, according to our increasingly anxious monitoring staff, they appeared to be guarding the zone. Impossible, Ravix declared, though his scales were now closer to white than green. Check the equipment. Run diagnostics. These readings cannot be correct. I made my unofficial log entry that evening note to self: next time someone suggests leaving a human alone in a deadly jungle, request immediate transfer to literally anywhere else. Preferably a nice desk job processing paperwork for malfunctioning waste disposal units. Looking back, I realized that was the moment we should have called for backup. Instead, we decided to wait and see what happened, because surely one human couldn't survive the night. Oh, how wrong we were. By the third day, our monitoring station had developed what humans call an ulcer, not literally. Of course, the station itself was perfectly fine. But every single technician working there had developed nervous twitches, including species that weren't supposed to be capable of nervous system disorders. Captain Zorax, technical officer Blend called, his single eye blinking rapidly. You need to see this footage. The holographic display showed a Shadowstalker pack moving through the jungle, normal enough, except they were moving in formation, military formation. The kind of formation our tactical experts spend years teaching to elite combat units. That's concerning, I said, demonstrating my mastery of understatement. Watch the tree line, Blend whispered. A massive shape moved through the canopy, a Skyhunter, one of the aerial predators that typically preyed on smaller Shadowstalkers. But instead of attacking, it was coordinating. The beast would sweep ahead, return to screech at the pack, and the Shadowstalkers would adjust their course accordingly. Lieutenant Nix's mandibles clacked nervously. Sir, according to our xenobiologists, this level of interspecies cooperation is impossible, I suggested. That's putting it mildly, sir. Director Ravix burst into the monitoring station, all four arms clutching different data pads. This is fine. Everything is fine. The human must have died, and we're simply observing previously undocumented natural behaviors. Sir, another technician called out. We're picking up tool use. The room went silent. The kind of silence that makes you wish you had taken that job offer from the Outer Rim Waste Management Division. The new footage showed a group of juvenile Shadowstalkers carrying what appeared to be spears, not holding them in their mouths like sticks, but actually carrying them in their front limbs. Crude spears made from local hardwood, sharpened to points with grips wrapped in vine. Tool use requires opposable thumbs, Ravix muttered, his scales now approaching an alarming shade of white. They don't have opposable thumbs. They can't have opposable thumbs. I wrote 3 research papers specifically about their lack of opposable thumbs. Sir Blend interrupted, his eye now blinking so fast it looked like a strobe light. We've located the human. The display shifted to a clearing. There, sitting on what appeared to be a throne made from interwoven vines and branches, was Marcus Stone. He was shirtless, covered in mud, and what looked suspiciously like Shadowstalker war paint, and he was teaching. A group of young Shadowstalkers sat before him, watching intently as he demonstrated proper spear-throwing technique. A Skyhunter perched behind his throne like some sort of oversized guard bird, while adult Shadowstalkers patrolled the perimeter. As we watched, Marcus stood, pointed to something in the distance, and made a series of hand gestures. The entire group moved out with military precision. He's training them, Nix whispered in horror. Sir, he's building an army. I made a new log entry. Day 3 of Operation Disposal. The human has not only survived but appears to have appointed himself king of the jungle. Request immediate evacuation of all non-essential personnel. Also requesting personal transfer to literally anywhere else. I hear the garbage scow routes are lovely this time of year. Ravix was still staring at the display, muttering about thumbs. Sir Blend called out again, his voice cracking. They're heading toward Research Station Beta. That's when we realized we hadn't just failed to eliminate a problem. We had given Marcus Stone exactly what he needed to become an even bigger one. And he was coming for US. Research Station Beta fell in less than an hour. The security footage showed a precision strike that would have made our military academies weep with envy, or possibly just weep in terror. Play it again, I ordered, watching the tactical brilliance unfold with a mix of horror and reluctant admiration. First came the Skyhunters. 3 of them, their massive wings blocking out the artificial lights as they swooped over the perimeter. Each one carried something in their talons, not prey, but specialized strike teams of juvenile Shadowstalkers. The young ones were smaller, more agile, perfect for infiltration. Notice their armor, Lieutenant Nix pointed out, her voice trembling slightly. The juvenile Shadowstalkers wore crude but effective protection made from hardened tree bark and woven vines. Their natural camouflage abilities combined with this covering made them nearly invisible against the station walls. While security focused on the aerial assault, the ground teams moved in. Adult Shadowstalkers, each standing as tall as a hover transport at the shoulder, their muscled forms rippling with deadly grace. Their scales shifted colors like oil on water, a hypnotic display that confused our targeting systems. But it was their organization that truly terrified us. These are Pack Hunters, Director Ravix whispered, watching the footage for the 100th time. Highly intelligent, yes, but they hunt in chaos. This is military precision, I finished for him. Look at the formation. 3-point assault pattern. The exact same strategy our own forces use for taking fortified positions. The main pack split into specialized units. Heavy assault teams armed with crude but effective battering rams made from local hardwood. Support units carrying supplies and what appeared to be medical provisions. Even dedicated communication teams, using the Shadowstalkers' natural ability to project subsonic frequencies to coordinate the attack. And at the center of it all, Marcus Stone. He rode atop the largest Shadowstalker I had ever seen, a beast we thought was just a myth. The Night Queen, they called her in research notes, a Shadowstalker of unprecedented size and intelligence. Her scales were darker than the others, with patterns that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Look at how they respond to his signals, Nix observed. Marcus had developed an entire command language using hand gestures and short whistles. The coordination between species is unprecedented. The Skyhunters and Shadowstalkers have been mortal enemies since we first discovered this planet. The footage showed a Skyhunter landing beside Marcus, lowering its head to his level. The creature that could swallow him whole instead waited patiently as he checked something on its wing, applying some kind of herbal paste to what looked like an injury. They trust him, I realized, completely and utterly. But how? A new recording came in, showing Marcus treating a wounded juvenile Shadowstalker. He sat with the creature, speaking softly, keeping eye contact as he worked. The beast, which could have torn him apart even in its injured state, instead nuzzled against him like some sort of oversized pet. He's not controlling them, Nix said suddenly. He's leading them. There's a difference. The final footage showed Marcus and his Night Queen walking through the captured station. The remaining staff cowered, expecting a slaughter. Instead, Marcus pointed to the exit. He was letting them go. One brave, or possibly insane, researcher asked him why. The security recording caught his response because they need to tell their bosses what happens when you try to kill someone who actually likes dangerous animals. I made my final log entry for that day. Subject Marcus Stone has succeeded in turning Nexus 7's most lethal predators into an organized military force. The good news is he appears to have a sense of mercy. The bad news is we may have created the galaxy's first human-led monster army, requesting immediate transfer to anywhere that doesn't have teeth, claws, or humans. Ravix was still staring at the screen, particularly at the shot of a Shadowstalker carefully handling a spear with its supposedly impossible to evolve opposable digits. I believe I said to no one in particular that several research papers may need revision. One by one, our outposts began to fall. Research Station Beta was just the beginning. Marcus Stone, the human we had so arrogantly left for dead, was systematically dismantling our presence on Nexus 7 with the precision of a master strategist and the dramatic flair of a revenge-seeking action hero. Station Gamma has gone dark, Lieutenant Nix reported, her usual professional demeanor cracking under the strain. That makes 3 in the past week. I stared at the tactical display, watching the pattern emerge. Each strike was perfectly planned, hitting us where we least expected it. Supply lines severed, communication relays destroyed, emergency beacons mysteriously redirected to send rescue teams into Shadowstalker ambushes. He's not just attacking, I realized, watching the replay of Station Gamma's last transmission. He's studying us, learning our protocols, using our own procedures against us. The footage showed a security team rushing to respond to what they thought was a Shadowstalker attack on the north perimeter. Standard response protocols demanded they focus forces there, which left the southern approach completely exposed to a coordinated strike by Skyhunters and juvenile infiltration teams. Sir, a technician called out, voice shaking. You need to see this message. It was carved into the main door of Gamma Station. The camera zoomed in on crude letters etched into metal. Thanks for the tactical training manuals in your database. Very helpful. Marcus. Director Ravix, who had barely left the command center since this nightmare began, let out a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. He got into our computers. While his pets were tearing apart our security forces, he was downloading our own military documents. Sir, another technician, this one scales practically glowing with panic. Station Delta reports contact. They're under attack. The live feed showed chaos. Shadowstalkers moving in complex attack patterns, using our own formations against us. Skyhunters providing air support with a level of coordination that would shame our best pilots. And there, directing it all from atop his Night Queen, was Marcus. He looked different now. Gone was any trace of the prisoner we had tried to dispose of. His body was painted in Shadowstalker patterns, moving with the same lethal grace as his adopted pack. He wore armor crafted from local materials, more effective than it had any right to be. Fall back to the main compound, I ordered, watching another outpost fall. We need to consolidate our forces. Sir, Nix interjected, there's something else. The native population of 6-legged razorbacks, they've joined him too. The display showed new footage. Packs of razorbacks, normally solitary ambush predators, moving in formation alongside the Shadowstalkers. They had adapted their hunting strategies to work in perfect concert with their former rivals. How Ravix demanded, all 4 arms gesturing wildly at the screens. How is he doing this? These species have evolved over millions of years to hunt and kill each other. A new message came in, this time transmitted directly to our command frequency. Marcus's voice, calm and almost amused. You know what's fascinating about apex predators? They're not actually that different from humans. They respect strength, protect their young, and hold grudges. Speaking of grudges, the feed cut off as Station Delta's power grid went dark. He's going to take them all, I said, a cold certainty settling in my gut. Every station, every outpost, every single piece of our presence on this planet. We could evacuate, Nix suggested, trying to sound reasonable. Cut our losses, admit the experiment failed. No, the word came out before I could stop it. No, we created this situation. We need to end it. Sir, one of the few remaining tactical officers spoke up. With all due respect, we tried to kill him and gave him an army instead. Maybe we should quit while we're behind. I ignored them, studying the pattern of attacks. There was a logic to it, a method that went beyond simple revenge. He was systematically eliminating our ability to call for help, cutting us off from the outside galaxy. Captain Nix said softly, you're becoming obsessed. Of course I am, I snapped. We took one human, one single human, and instead of eliminating him, we gave him exactly what he needed to become a legitimate threat to our entire research operation. As if to punctuate my words, the lights flickered. In the distance, we heard the distinctive shriek of a Skyhunter. He's coming, I said, suddenly certain. This was all just preparation. He's coming for the main compound next. The truly terrifying part. I was starting to think he might actually win. The main compound's last line of defense was our automated security system. Top-of-the-line combat drones, plasma turrets, and energy shields. The kind of technology that had conquered worlds. They lasted exactly 6 minutes against Marcus Stone's monster army. The Shadowstalkers moved like ghosts through the shield frequencies, their natural camouflage adapting faster than our sensors could track. Skyhunters dropped razorbacks onto gun emplacements with surgical precision. And through it all, that damned human rode his Night Queen, directing the assault like he was born to it. "You know what your biggest mistake was?" Marcus called out as he dismounted, walking casually toward my position as his pack disabled the last of our defenses, besides the obvious trying to kill me part. I stood my ground, aware of Lieutenant Nix and Director Ravix trembling behind me. "Enlighten me." "You assumed technology beats nature," he grinned, patting the Night Queen's flank. "But you never stopped to ask why these creatures evolved the way they did. The Shadowstalkers. Their camouflage isn't just for hunting. It adapts to energy frequencies. They evolved to hide from the Skyhunters' natural bioelectric sensing organs." The Night Queen rumbled, a sound that made my bones vibrate. Marcus scratched under her chin like she was a pet. "Your sensors couldn't track them because they've spent millions of years perfecting the art of being invisible to much better detection systems than yours." "But how did you survive the initial drop?" I demanded. "The sedatives alone should have knocked me out." "They did." For about 10 minutes he laughed. "I'm a veterinarian, Captain, specialized in large predators back on Earth. You think I haven't built up a tolerance to tranquilizers after years of getting accidentally dosed by my patients?" Everything clicked into place. The way he handled the creatures, the medical care, the trust he had earned. When I woke up surrounded by Shadowstalkers, I didn't see monsters. I saw scared mothers protecting their young from your research teams. The Skyhunters were having their nesting grounds disrupted by your stations. Every creature on this planet had a reason to hate you. They just needed someone to show them how to work together. A Shadowstalker brought him something, a data pad from our system. Your research notes were very helpful, by the way, especially the parts about their social structures and hunting patterns, though I have to say you missed a lot. Like what Director Ravix asked, scientific curiosity momentarily overriding his terror. Like the fact that Shadowstalkers aren't just pack hunters, they're empaths. They can literally feel the emotions of their prey. Makes them perfect judges of character. Marcus smiled. "Want to guess what they felt from your research teams?" I swallowed hard. "What do you want?" "Simple. This planet becomes a wildlife preserve. No more research stations. No more disrupting the ecosystem. These creatures deserve to live in peace. And if we refuse..." The Night Queen snarled, and suddenly we were surrounded by glowing eyes in the darkness. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Then I stopped being so nice about asking. Marcus said quietly, "What's it going to be, Captain?" Looking at the destroyed remains of our superior technology, at the army of apex predators waiting for his signal, I made the only sane choice. Where do I sign? Official report to the Galactic Federation Science Council, filed by Captain Vex Zorax. Nexus 7 has been officially designated as a protected wildlife sanctuary under the supervision of its new Chief Ranger, Marcus Stone. Yes, that Marcus Stone. The one we tried to kill. The one who now commands the loyalty of every apex predator on the planet. The Council made a very wise decision in approving this designation. The fact that his Shadowstalker army could probably take over half the sector has nothing to do with it. The Night Queen had cubs last week. Marcus sent us pictures. They already know how to hold spears. Director Ravix has taken an extended sabbatical to revise his papers on Shadowstalker intelligence and social structures. Lieutenant Nix accepted a transfer to the Diplomatic Corps, saying something about wanting to make sure we never accidentally create any more human-led monster armies. As for me, I stayed on as liaison to the new wildlife preserve. Someone has to file the paperwork when Marcus requests funding for his conservation projects. The Council never refuses. They saw the footage. Looking back, I can pinpoint exactly where we went wrong. We thought we were dealing with just another sentient species. But humans? They are something else entirely. You can shoot at them, they learn your weapons. You can hunt them, They study your tactics. You can drop them in a jungle full of monsters, and they will make those monsters their family. So let this be a warning to anyone else thinking of trying to eliminate a human problem. That human you are planning to remove, the one you think is trapped and helpless, they are never as trapped as you think. They are never as helpless as you assume. And if you give them half a chance, they will take everything you throw at them and turn it back on you in ways you never imagined possible. P.S. Marcus is starting an outreach program to introduce young Shadowstalkers to other Federation worlds. He says it's for educational purposes. I believe him. I have to believe him. The alternative is too terrifying to contemplate. This document has been classified as required reading for all Federation military and scientific personnel. By order of the Council, it has been given the subtitle "Why We Don't Try to Kill Humans Anymore."